This is Better Moody, and you're listening to The Way Forward. So, I'm going to be honest. I woke up this morning and I thought, nope, not today, and not in a good way. I did not want to roll up out of bed to go do some extracurricular recording and talking to my friends, my Moody fam. But I do have some things on my mind, and I need to get it off my chest. So, I want to talk about leadership because I think that's part of the way forward. I want to be a better leader, not just because it's cool or, that's what I was working on my MBA, but, real application for life. I think when you choose your master's degree, that you want it to be focused and you should have it honed in on the specific skills that you desire for either your career path, I guess, but also for your life. And I think that's what's most important because, come rain or shine, hail, doom, Armageddon, hail and brimstone, you want to walk away from an educational system knowing that money was actually well spent and not just to get a little tiny pay bump right in the workplace. So if you stay here for a minute, I'm going to talk about how to stop carrying teams on your back, because that's the leadership piece that I don't think you get taught when you're in school, even in your graduate studies. So maybe you do, I don't know, but I'm not. And I still need to sign up for my next semester, but here we are. I haven't finished it. Maybe further on down the line, toward the end, we get to discover and explore this further, but without, being bitter and without being controlling and without burning out. I think it's necessary to know in your mind how to address these situations so that you can live. Because let me tell you, being an adult ain't no piece of apple pie. So, you have to maintain your sanity, and there's not always going to be someone there to give you a hug like I give baby Cam a hug and tell him it's going to be okay. Let me tell you, that boy has learned to feign. He's learned to put on a show. In fact, I think he's starting to do it on purpose whenever he wants a hug. I'm like, baby, you don't need a hug. You don't need to hit yourself or run into the wall or pretend like you dropped a toy on your toe so you can get a hug. Baby, I got all the hugs for you. So, I think if you shine a light on it, everybody loves teamwork. Everybody's like, yes, this is what we want to do. But in reality, I think everybody has a different narrator in their head, right? Like on Bridgerton, dearest gentle reader. Like mine doesn't say no gentle reader. Mine's like, get your ass up in the morning, do what you got to do. And sometimes, my internal narrator is just a little harsh. So, that's why I repeat, you got to be kind to yourself. But teamwork is about putting trust in others. That's hot. That's wonderful if it works. But, you got to trust others to carry some of the weight. And then the moment that someone drops that metaphorical ball, because I don't know why life must be a game with balls, but whenever someone drops the balls, then, and it's not productive, but internally, the first place that you go is to find blame. You want to find who did it, whose fault is it, and yes, and if you're well versed in the game, you don't phrase it that way. You're finding the source of the issue so that you can resolve it. But let's be real. We're trying to find out who fucked it up. That's where it really boils down to. And everybody's a detective. And then, once they figure out the weak link, everybody gets quiet. And now we got to fix the system, depending on who that weak link is, right? Oh, the system's broken. We got to fix it. But no, truly, it should be fixing the system from the jump. Everybody hates a weak link. Nobody wants to be the weak link. But teamwork is amazing, isn't it? It's amazing until it's not. And you got to face what do I want to say? You got to, I don't know. Okay, I'm like getting into all these metaphors. And I'm like, basically it's Judgment Day. And you get called to the table, you get called to the altar, and you have to account and reckon for, the choices that were made during a mission, etc. That's the time. Everyone wants to share the glory, but they don't want to share the consequences. Let me tell you, you will share the consequences because, at least in my line of work, if the commander's not happy, nobody's happy. And it does roll downhill. All of the, it just depends on your leadership style though, right? Some people eat it, but some of that discovery of a condition that was not met or a goal that was not achieved or something that wasn't fulfilled, adequately. Some of that does need to come. It needs to roll on down the hill so that we can all learn. A good leader, I don't think, means just eating that reprimand. But we can rephrase it. We can turn it into a moment of improvement, a learning point. So let's talk about this ball, this big, ugly ball. That why do we have to carry it? Why do I have to carry the ball? And then why is everyone looking at me if I drop it? Huh. So this isn't just at work. This is at home too. Sometimes, and I think there was one time when I dropped the ball. It was in 2018. I curled up in a corner. I have no idea when it was exactly, but simple. Dishes needed to be done. The house was wrecked. And it was too much. And the situation worked out. I just curled up in a ball in a corner and I closed my eyes because I couldn't even look at it, much less tackle it. But also I was the only one. So whatever this team was, it was a team of one. A team of one does not work. Not for long. It can work temporarily, and it's a ruse of sorts. Putting on a good show. But if you're the only one doing the work and the only one getting it done, eventually that ball, that inflatable big ass ball that gets bigger every year, it's gonna drop. Yeah, like the New Year's ball, Times Square. That big ass ball is gonna drop, and it's not a good drop. Nobody's celebrating. Why do we celebrate a ball drop? That's interesting. Every year at the end of the year, we drop the ball, and then we just wake up the next day, start new, because that's a big ass ball. The ball of burdens and everything that's swirled up. So maybe that's a metaphor. I'm sure it's a metaphor for something, but I'm not in the mood to look into that at the moment. But, it's not about this ball, this glittery, fabulous ball that's weighted and heavy and pressing and digging into your shoulders. I think it's about expectations, right, versus reality. So, are your expectations lining up with what your team or your group or your family is really capable of? And then you have to be realistic. And let me tell you, I am the prime offender, if you want to call it that, for imagining just majestic and magical outcomes. I don't know why. I got an idea in my head, and then I see the full-blown cinematic preview, the trailer, and I'm like, yes, we're going to go all out. We're going to have all the pyrotechnics. We're going to have all the high-end luxury bedding and silk, and we're going to dress to a T. I'm just saying, it's just like, the quality is there. Whatever it is that we're getting into, like I see it walking. I mean, like not even on a catwalk, but Eva Mendes or Eva Long. Is it Eva Longoria too? Anyway, it's early. Let it go. But my point is that cinematic. Yeah. But then in reality, it's more like bathrobe and curlers in the hair. Like, who is that grumpy cartoon? The old lady with the cat and the rollers and the cup of coffee. Oh my goodness. But that is the reality. So I have to adjust. I have to adjust hardcore on a daily basis. And then sometimes I just need to close my eyes. For example, I'll walk into the house and I will imagine that I may not have a mansion, right? But I can decorate and I can clean. And those two items put together can result in magnificent dwellings, and you can feel comfortable. And that's the goal. You don't have to live in a mansion to have gilded dwellings, and you don't have to have the gold and the diamonds to have the gilded. I'm just saying it just needs to be clean and it needs to be organized. And if you respect and take care of your things, they can look very nice. That's an example. Man, I had to close my eyes walking into this house. I can't keep up with all the areas that need to be cleaned. I mean, even me as the maid, because I am the maid and the mom and the provider, bringing home bacon, working my 9 to 5. But it's actually more like 9 to 9. Yeah. And then, on top of it, then you got, when I hit the door coming home, is crying baby, is barking dogs. Someone's going to cook dinner. Someone's going to need to, I don't know, answer the phone because work ain't work. Work ain't done. Work is still working. So here lately, I've been wondering if maybe I just need to be more mediocre. No, probably not. But I do need to adjust my expectations, because reality, otherwise I'm going to just be depressed. It's going to be a wrap. So, and you go to school, you're growing up, you're starry-eyed, you're, fresh out of the house, and you think, oh, I'm going to do it better than my mom did or my dad did or my family. I'm going to run this life. And maybe you will. But also, man, shit happens. You've got unexpected curveballs that you have to deal with. So you go to school, and school shows you, oh, this is the way, and it's textbook. And it's before you, and it has chapters, and everything's linear, timeline's linear. Okay, first you complete school, then you get a job, then you buy a house. Or maybe you get married, have a baby, buy a house, whatever. It tells you everything's linear. That's what life is teaching you. And then you develop these teams as you go. So you have your work team, you have your family team, etc. So, and then you think, hey, if everyone works together, then everyone wins. But sometimes everybody just doesn't win. And a lot of times everybody doesn't win. But that's the goal. So, what you don't learn in school, what you can't read in that storybook, or maybe no one who is in the thick of it has time to sit down and explain to you step by step, is that your outcome, what actually happens versus what you expected to happen, is tied to people who don't share your urgency. They don't have that same cinematic dream dancing in their head. Your outcome is tied to people who don't share Your standards. Hang with me a minute. Expectation. Cool radio voice. Reality. Morning issues. Garbled sounds. Yeah, I don't know. It's just morning. Morning does me like this. Your outcome. What else? It's tied to the outcome. Not always does your whole team share in your consequences, and that one is what does you in. Because if you don't share those consequences, this is so important, then not everyone will share that urgency. Not everyone will understand why it's so important that, items get done. Hey, if your kid, I'm just saying, has a car, never changes the oil, but you pick up that slack and make sure it gets changed, what's going to happen when they are on their own? You're not going to be around forever changing the oil. I mean, they're going to trust someone else, but also they're not going to be aware. And they're not going to understand the full consequences. They're going to experience them, and it's going to hit harder because they're going to have to just overcome in real time. That's not a good lesson learned. I mean, depending on the timing of when your engine decides to lock up or go out on you, that's the key piece that matters. And maybe they don't learn until it locks up on them on a highway or something crazy. But, that's where the tension lives. That's where it is. Yep. Expectation versus reality. So, yeah, when one person is doing all the work and carrying the team, everybody does win. Everybody gets the A. The A team. I was talking about that, like, throwback. I felt like I was on the A team the other day. Not the Ed Sheeran one, the Mr. T one. All throwbacks. That was a double throwback. Anyway, it feels like it's fair on the surface, like, oh, well, everybody wins because everybody was a part of the team, even though they didn't do anything, But what it does is it secretly teaches the group that someone else will save the day. That may not be your job, right? But someone else is going to. Let me tell you, I felt like I've been notorious for carrying the weight. And then I ran into a team here recently where everyone felt that way, and I could let go a little, and that was crazy. It felt wrong. It still feels wrong because now I'm catching a breather, and I'm seeing them taking the stress and the ownership on their shoulders, and it's uncomfortable. But also, I'm doing my part, just not being the extra uber ultra overachiever, and just doing more of my share. And it feels strange, like putting on a pair of pants that just doesn't fit you in all the right places, And that's real because, not every pair of pants can fit me. That's why I opt for jeans, not so much jeans, but the loose pull string type. I got a big butt. I'm just saying. So the overachiever, they become the safety net, right? And people start relying on them, perhaps too much. People start relaxing. And so that's the scary part. You relax. You trust that person that's going to handle it and take care of it. And then, suddenly they're doing, if you're not careful, more than their share. They're the unpaid manager, right? The emotional laborer. They're taking on the stress. And eventually, guess what? Burnout comes around and it's a bitch. And so you have to monitor, you have to be careful, and it's nice. It's nice when you can portion out those duties and do your troop to task, or, everybody at home can do their assigned chores. It's nice when the city comes in and scoops away the snow. I'm just saying, even the city has a part. Thank you, because Man, I had a big mountain. It snowed like crazy here, as you may know, blockaded. Just freaking igloos. I mean, if you want to talk about a mansion, it was a mansion of snow. And there was a big mountain where I was just shoveling, and I just made like a little gully. There was an outlet. There was a little tiny hole for the car to get out of. And then I just kind of dug out a little pool so that the vehicles could get in. It was crazy, but it was the best I could do. Even people with snow blowers it did not look like it was working, but I did my best. I've never seen so much snow in my life. I don't even know what the accumulation was, but yeah, I survived that. But then I had this little mountain in front of my vehicle, and I would just, make a left, squeeze through the hole. The city came through and removed my mountain. How often does that happen? Someone comes and moves mountains for you. Well, the city did it, and high five. Well, I say the city. Hanscom Housing did it. So you're the city. You're the city. The city I live in. But yeah. So burnout, man. Burnout's real. And that's what I was experiencing. But right now, when you catch a breather, then I think, oh, I can do this. I'm okay. It's not so bad. But then you're like on this roller coaster, and it's a lot. So leadership, being an adult, rough times. Well, let's talk about what happens when we don't win. When that ball gets dropped, or maybe you're not number one out of 13 battalions anymore. I mean, this is oddly specific. You would think I'm talking about something that only a few of you would understand entirely. No, you feel like a failure. You feel, I don't know. Those who are the overachievers, they want to carry more of the load, but then you can't. You can only strap on that saddle like a donkey and load it up so high. That's what I'm saying. So, the cost of it's not about winning. It's achieving that goal, which is winning, right? But we want to pretend, be modest. We don't necessarily want to win. We want to achieve our goals, meet our expectations. But my expectation was to be number one, I'm just saying. But anyway, sometimes, in your mind, how you perceive your self-worth and your value, you have to be careful. Don't tie all that to your work. But then if you tie it to your family, even then you have to, draw a line in the sand and make sure that you don't tie your identity to the accomplishments. It's hard to just exist, but that is what you must do. Yeah, your reputation, it takes a hit. Your ego. Don't ask me to get into that, the ego. But it's, when your deadlines are missed. Leadership then notices. Your kids see it. But that's what prompts the rise of new leaders within the ranks. Who's going to step up and take charge? Who of my children will go wash the dishes without asking? The answer to that is no one. But the opportunity presents itself. So stress is there. So suddenly people are asking, man, that kitchen is dirty. Who's going to clean it? I don't want to hang out down there. No kidding. You don't want to hang out in a dirty space? You can be a part of that solution. You can clean it. Or, I think we're sitting at number 4. We keep slipping and sliding at work between number 4 and number 7. Well, who's going to rise to the occasion? Can we even rise? I don't know. A lot of that resides in the teams that we put our faith in. And then if you've already met the goal that you set out to achieve, is it worth it to kill yourself and push just to be number one? Temporarily, perhaps. Not sure. Or you just reserve your energy and you wait until you're on the last lap, like F1 racer. Is that it? A Formula One racer, yes. And then you punch it across the finish line to finish first. Maybe that's the way. But anyway, people start asking questions. Well, why didn't it work this time? Let's do some data analysis. Who isn't pulling their weight? I can tell you, it's easy. It's easy. Who's not pulling their weight at home? I don't know. I find that I ask my children to do something, and then I end up doing it anyway. And I think the thought process is, instead of yelling, I just take a deep breath. And when that time frame has passed where I say, hey, go take that plate and put it in the kitchen, for example, and it doesn't happen, I need them to see the time frame is now, not later. Also, where's this later business coming from? Why in the world, why on God's planet do my kids think that there is a time frame that's comfortable to leave your clothes on the floor, leave your plates unwashed and in random crevices beside the bed? Why? Where does this even come from? I don't know, but I'm telling you, it's a sickness. It's a sickness. It needs to be coded like COVID. We need a vaccine. And that's, I giggle, I chuckle, but that's real. Like, there's some true anger in my heart over that. Like, I think I might have lost a year or two due to that level of stress that builds on. You want a beautiful home. Why would you trash the one you're in? There isn't some magical mansion on a hill that you go into and it stays clean on its own. Even the in the upper middle class, the 1 and 2 percenters of the world, I'm pretty sure when they wipe their butt, they put that paper in the toilet, or maybe they just use a bidet. I don't know, but still, somebody's got to dry that tush. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to clean up after yourself. It's just a must. No one's going to do it for you. And if someone's doing it for you, now you're in a nursing home. So just stop. You don't want this. You want to be capable, self-sufficient. Anyway, that's a tangent. Let's go back to the weak link. The uncomfortable truth. So the weak link's not always the lazy person. Sometimes it's the person that's quiet. The person that's helping to drop the collective ball doesn't ask questions. They pretend. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Ooh, I've done that before. Well, because you don't want to look stupid. You don't want to look crazy. So you're listening and you're like, ooh, I'll look it up later. And sometimes that works, if you get around to looking it up. And it's not intentional. You just don't want to look stupid, so you start nodding that north to south instead of the, east to west. Not always, sometimes it's okay to just not know and rest easy in that lack of knowledge. And either the person who is trying to, share this knowledge with you will fill in the blanks, or you do your own damn research and just be transparent. But that's one of the things that'll get you hemmed up, man. Sink ships, causes miscalculations, crashes planes. Do not pretend that you know. Confirm. Trust but verify. Nice military coin phrase for you. The silent person is dangerous. I know they say empty barrels make the most noise, so the loudest person ain't necessarily the smartest. But at the same time, that person who's quiet, you have to dig in. As a leader, you have to nudge them, get them to open up. So it's just misalignment. That's what happens. That person who doesn't want to feel uncomfortable in the group when you ask a question. Who knows the answer to this question? Well, shit, that's the whole room. Why don't you just spell it out? Because nobody wants to be uncomfortable and say, oh, I'm the only dumbass in the room that doesn't know, because that's what inevitably happens. You're going to raise your hand, and there's that collective response. Everybody's, peripheral vision looking to see who is slowly raising their hand, so that, one person isn't the dumbass. It's just, oh, we all didn't know. And then, then you have your area leaders who just don't give a shit. And I love that. And this is just in my career field, but the managers who don't give a shit what other people think. If they don't know, they don't know. And they're very comfortable in that. And depending on the setting, they will just freely state that, because they know they're not dumbasses, and they know everybody else knows they're not dumbasses, but they're going to ask that question, that uncomfortable question, so everybody gets the answers they need. So that's a beautiful thing. But yeah, misalignment, it'll mess you up, and it's not laziness. So get it straight. That quiet person, dig in, make sure you draw out. You got to draw out their responses and get into their mind. Make sure they understand what the goal is. I think another deal breaker, another weak link, a chink in the chain, is the confident person. Ooh, see now. And in the military, I think I have both. I think I got one silent daughter, and then I have one who's overly confident, and she doesn't want you to tell her shit. And same thing in the military. Man, everybody looks to that person. That person knows what they're doing, even if they're leading everyone off a cliff. It's it's dangerous. It's okay. I mean, be careful who you follow. But that person's like, I got it. Sometimes they got it, but sometimes they don't got it. They might be the person who underestimates the workload. They might miss details or deliver late or sloppy work. They might be that person that just looks great, appearance, strong, commanding, chiseled, or, sleek, trim, fit, that confidence. Ooh, it's a misperception. Just because you look the part doesn't mean you're prepared for the part. So I think it's a dangerous, dangerous path that we all walk down. And, you think about it. That's your calling card, your appearance. You got to maintain and have and project, a confident appearance, but also, just be mindful. Just like you take the time to address the silent character individual, take the time to address and hone and lead that overly confident individual. Make sure that they're aware of the goals and expectations. And, also sometimes it's hard. It's hard to pinpoint those individuals that are just not up to speed, because when you communicate with some people, let me tell you, oh my gosh, I dated this guy one day, it should have been a day. And tell me why I would study. This is when I was in college getting my bachelor's. And I studied with this person, and they sat and they listened to me and shared information. They were not in college, but man, they shared their insights. Oh, I don't even know how this happens. I don't know how in this day and age a person does not know how to read. But yes, it came to light later, much later, after I graduated, that this person did not even know how to read. And I'm like, how did this happen? How did you glide through the system? Oh my goodness. They projected. And I'm not saying this in any mean or derogatory manner, but, when their competence was tested and they had to speak for themselves instead of nodding and agreeing and supporting, when they had to step out of that role, stand on their own 2 feet and basically perform, they were wholly not prepared. And you would have never known. This person should have gotten an Oscar. I mean, an amazing performer. encore. Except, encore is what messed him up throughout his whole life. He looked the part. He fit the role to a T, with all the acting credits that rolled after he got off stage. But yeah, when he was called on to perform, can you imagine a doctor, for example, slipping through the cracks? Oh my goodness. And you can put on a good show in the company of those who you'll never see again. You see it in the movies all the time. Airplane, crowded subway. We need a doctor. And then the doctor gets down and they attempt to do recovery or rescue procedures. But the person happens to come to on their own, or whatever infarction or heart palpitation they had, or stroke or panic attack that they, were experiencing. Nothing too serious, but also looked serious. They recovered on their own. And then all of a sudden, the doctor saved the day. I'm just saying, actors. It's amazing, the actors in this world. And it's funny also that we call enemies or players in wars actors. That's also just a sidebar. But anyway, yeah. So the overconfident one, don't let them go. Don't let them off the hook. You gotta get your sights on them and make sure that they're actually contributing to the team in a meaningful manner, and that they're not just bludgeoning through. My daughter does this too. My daughter is she's got it. She popped out and she already knew how to do everything. I'm trying to show her how to use the vehicle, and she goes and ramps it into a couple different poles, etc. But she's got it. She knows how to drive that stick shift, whatever. It's okay. It's almost comical in certain settings, but it's dangerous. But anyway, she doesn't drive a stick. I'm just saying. Just an example. Oh, I alluded to it. But another one is the overachiever. Yeah, that person who, and I don't even think because I consider myself an overachiever, they don't do it on purpose. But you just think everybody's thinking like you think. Ooh, this is a pitfall. The overachiever is the person that assumes others know. They should just know. They don't communicate their expectations well, which is, it's fine if you're the worker bee. But as a leader, that is an issue, because if you do not communicate your expectations, you will fall short every time. So it's more, I think, about being patient and understanding that taking the time to move a little slower, to lay that groundwork, that knowledge, ultimately yields exponential results, because you create a force multiplier. You get your overachieving mindset, slap it into someone else, and you make a little mini you, and all of a sudden, all your fingers are branches, and you can reach out, and you can accomplish more, and you can do more. Does that make sense? Also, there isn't resentment that builds when others don't meet those expectations. Instead, you just recalibrate, you quote unquote retrain, right? And one thing, and I there are certain people that pop up in my mind. One thing that you can't do is you can't rescue. Don't rescue the team. Let them sink. Let them sink a little bit. Let them get underwater. Let them discover how long they can hold their breath. Let them rise to the occasion. Like, yeah, you actually have to put forth some effort to surface. Do you want to live through this? Everybody has to do their part, and you have to let them. You have to let them. I think an overachiever just, because I've been there. You want to take a deep breath and I got this. You know what? I'm just going to do it myself. Ooh. Those words right there. Those words will set you back. So that's, in a nutshell, what I think is not being taught is the reality of the situation. You get put on a group, and sometimes you share a collective grade if you're working in a group at school. A lot of times, you work in a group, you have a collective grade, and you have an individual grade. But you know what? You could probably throw that individual grade out, because at the end of the day, if that shared goal isn't met, mission not accomplished. So everyone can't, put out a fire. Let's talk firefighter. I don't know why. That just popped into my head. The team works to put out the fire. You don't get individual awards for putting out 3 flames on your end. And if you don't put out the fire, it's going to freaking grow. So you either get the job done or you don't. No individual badges of achievement. I mean, maybe after the overall goal is achieved. And, that person saved the cat while he was at it. Okay, cool. Now you can talk about individual awards, but very kosher. Yeah. So sharing standards, setting shared standards. Got to do that. Delegating clearly. Making sure that you communicate. If something doesn't meet those standards, then you have to communicate and confront the underperformers. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody's confrontational. No, that's stressful. They got to figure out a way to do that without being quote unquote toxic or offensive. Got to learn how to communicate that. And then protect yourself, protect your energy. Don't be a bitter bunny. They got bad bunny, but out there exist the bitter bunnies. Do not be a bitter bunny. You got to grow up emotionally and train yourself to work collaboratively, because everywhere you go, it's all a team. So everybody's on a plane. New team, because if you all crash, guess what? Team plane. You're on a bus. Team bus. On a train. Whatever. Groups are everywhere. Teams are everywhere. Well, groups are everywhere. Whether or not they can form a team depends on the energy, the leadership, and the capability. So that's the shift. And that's the goal. That's the way forward. It's that leadership shift. Leadership shift. Shift. Yep. That situationship with yourself and with your team. That's how you glow up. So if I trust you and our mission fails, I'm not going to adjust you. I can't adjust you. That's not what I meant to say. I'm not going to blame you. And I'm not going to blame me. We're going to direct our efforts toward the process. And we're going to adjust that system and make it work. So I'm going to nail it down one last time. That means you need clear expectations. That happens at the beginning. You need check-in points. Who knows about those check-in points? Don't just give someone a task. Set them off. And then due date comes. And wow, you failed. You need check-in points. Are we progressing? And they actually do that at school because, yeah. Everyone hates the check-in points, but man, you get a big old thesis to write and you don't have check-in points, then all of a sudden it's due. Those due dates come up quick. But those check-in points, you hate them in the moment, but they are glorious and they keep you on track. Got to make sure everybody understands their role. Define the ownership. Who's doing what? Who's in charge of what? That always helps so much. And then own it. So then, how do we learn? How do we grow? The icing on the cake. It's consequences Consequences, let them happen, and ensure that they don't rely on resentment. So, ooh, they say, there's a saying, spare the rod, spoil the child. Ooh, it's not biblical. But man, it feels good when you beat that ass. And I'm just saying, no corporal punishment, but when you want to, I like it visually. I imagine, ooh, tearing up that little tush. But that's not as productive as you might think. Although that is all that happened back in the day, man. And under the umbrella of parenting, that's what, man, I got beat with hangers, shoes. I think a piece of plywood at one point. Pillow filled with clothes. My stepfather threw it at the wall and I ducked and it made a hole in the wall. I was like, really? What was I supposed to learn? What was I supposed to learn from that? So I'm just saying, corporal punishment's not the answer. You don't punch an employee when they miss a deadline. So you shouldn't treat your kids that way, right? You don't backhand them. I mean, crazier things have happened under the influence, but I'm just saying, not productive. So same thing. In fact, you should elevate your kids to a different standard than you do your coworkers. And, they're looking up to you more than your coworkers ever will. And cherish them, honor them, but also guide them. So don't micromanage, but manage responsibly. Leadership, man, it's that role that you play, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Do rise to the occasion. You have to. So, because when a team fails, everyone fails. And when it does fail, you got to ask yourself, are you mad at the weak link? Or are you mad that you trusted without verifying? Yep, circled it back around for you. Trust but verify. Trust but verify when you're leading a team. And then those shared results can be celebrated by all with equal enthusiasm, I might add. So anyway, I can't believe I got up and actually decided to speak this morning because let me tell you, laying in my bed at 5 a.m., my thoughts were, why? Why? And this bed, my bed is comfortable, y'all. I got the satin sheets. And the new mattress reminds me of an ice cream sandwich. And it's so cozy. But truth be told, one little member of the family, one in particular, Ollie, that doggy, I gotta see, every time I have to go use the bathroom, I notice, I don't know if he hears me upstairs or if he just has to go at the same time, but our systems are synced. So if I go to the bathroom, I know, dang it, I got to take the dog out. So same thing across the board. Well, that's all. That's what I got. You've been listening to Better Moody. This is the way forward. It's my way. It's not my way or the highway, but it's my way. It could be your way too. This is the way forward. And we're going to keep moving on into this year, this beautiful year, 2026. And I'll see you in the next episode.